Hey, welcome to the CMO Whisper Show. I'm your host, Steve Olensky. Part marketing practitioner, part ad agency veteran, part journalist. I was a writer for Forbes for 10 years. I've had so many insightful conversations over the years with business leaders, to athletes, to celebrities, to, of course, CMOs. The only difference now is instead of sharing those insights through written form, I'm doing it this way. My guest this week is an award-winning marketer, business executive, strategist, and brand innovator. Daniel Cherry has extensive experience across sports, CPG, lifestyle, music and entertainment, and luxury consumer categories. With a storied career working with some of the world's most famous brands, such as Diageo, Comics, Activision, the New Jersey Devils, the New York Cosmos, and now Adidas. His work has been recognized with numerous awards and recognition, including a Grammy nomination. Got to get into that. A Cannes Gold Lion, a Sports Business Journal's Top 40 Under 40, an Adweek Vanguard Award, several Effies Awards for advertising effectiveness. Daniel was also a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania. He's a husband and proud father of two amazing daughters. Daniel Cherry, welcome to the show. And as I said to you off the air, I don't know how you and I have never spoken before.
Agreed. The circle is small, but the energy is a track. So we're here. Right? We're meant to meet now. So exactly. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Oh my God. It's totally my pleasure. I think we have like 400 or 500 mutual LinkedIn connections, yep. Which we've definitely been in the same conferences and breathe the same air and whatever.
That level of connections happen over time, right? So we've been doing this for a long time. So kudos to you for still going at it.
We're not saying old. We're
No. Experience, wisdom. Yes.
And don't ever say mature.
Right. Correct. Because at one point, I guess we were just immature. So
I will fight to my death. I will never be mature. Anyway, well, listen, it's so great to chat. We have a ton of things I want to get into. And sure. I want to start with what you call your passion project right now. And it's you're co-founder of Effies. I hope I'm saying that right. F-R-A-S. Did I say?
Okay. F-R-A-S, Frost. Yes. Jamaican patois. My Frost man. Yes.
Organic iced tea. You were gracious enough to send me some samples. They are amazing. But start there. Start wherever you want. How it came about. What's it all about? Sure. Where do you want to take it? Everything you want to talk about.
I appreciate you helping plug Frost. Yes. Frost is a passion project of me and some friends, including my wife, who is Jamaican. And the phrase "Mafrosman" is Jamaican patois. And Frost is essentially an organic iced tea that we call peace in a can. Right? When you want that little moment of peace, that refreshment, we believe we want to give you the most delicious, healthy, flavorful experience possible. And we believe that that's Frost. I grew up on the other side of the tracks as a kid, and we used to have quarter waters, right? High sugar, sweet tea, all these things that tasted good initially, but weren't great for us. And so for me and my friends that built Frost, we want to give the world an accessible, right, alternative. We believe in accessible wellness. So the product won't be a $10 green juice. We actually will make sure that's affordable. So under $4, so $3.50 or so at your convenience stores. We will also be doing some Frost sunset sessions because we're cool. We love lifestyle. So we'll be doing some beach sessions in Venice Beach, which is where we're based. And we'll be donating a percentage of proceeds to Frost sales to health and wellness initiatives in local communities, including the Venice Family Clinic, which is right down the street from our hub in Venice Beach, and other local communities around the world. Our tagline is "Refresh the Peace," and all products are, again, 100% organic, non-GMO, vegan, and infused with adaptogens. So we have peach, hibiscus, raspberry, and we're about to launch mango.
Oh, I definitely want to taste the mango because the first two are amazing.
Thank you.
Are they online only? Can people find them in retailers? Where can they get them?
Yes, we are launching in Southern California this year. So you'll see us about 500 to 1,000 doors in Southern California first. Yes, we are online, D2C and Amazon. So you can buy us nationally, for that level, internationally, wherever Amazon ships. And we will be rolling out across the country, North America, this summer. So, more tea is drunk kind of June to July than any other season. It's a summer drink. So clearly we're going to be launching kind of Memorial Day doing activations in around South Bay, which is a kind of SoCal vibe, Hermosa, Venice Beach, Manhattan Beach, but also Redondo Beach, which is where I reside, and all the way down to La Jolla to the skate and surf and beach, right, communities. And then we'll go across the country from there. So you'll see us all around Southern California this summer, and then nationally coming up on the fall and spring 26.
I highly recommend go to Amazon. He said F-R-A-S and look it up.
Drinkfrost.com. Yes.
Drinkfras.com. It's so good. It's refreshing. It's just different. And that's what I like about it. And It's organic.
Yeah. Well, the flavor profile came from, I'll give a shout out to Eric Ribeiro. Eric's our head of product innovation. Eric is a amazing, 4 or 5-star chef and bartender. So he actually knows how to mix food with drink. So he's actually made some amazing mocktail recipes, but he also has taught a lot of the best mixologists and bartenders in the country, having worked at Diageo as our head bartender when I was there. So you think about the amazing flavors we've had in some of our high-end products. He's taken that same level of kind of sommelier expertise and brought it to the tea category. Wow. So the flavor notes and the kind of discussions we have about taste profile is what you would have on a high-end wine, but we're providing it to you at a $3.50, $3.99 product, which we think is important because when you look at the competition, the level of carries just isn't there in this space. But it's the oldest drink ever drunk next to water in the world. So we feel like we can, right? You think about tea and water are the two oldest drinks most drunk in the world, and we believe there's still opportunity to give somebody something better. That's delicious.
Yeah, I'm sure, and I know I'm preaching to the choir, but what a great story to tell.
Yeah, that is the goal. That's why we're here, Steve. You're helping me tell the story, and then we'll tell the story, in our own terms, in the coming months.
Absolutely. Here. Totally. And I will do everything I can to help because I love the cause. And you know what I love the most, Daniel, is listening to you for the past 30 seconds to 2 minutes is your passion. And that's beautiful. I love that.
Appreciate it. It is a passion project for sure.
Okay. Now I'm going to go complete 180.
I'm at your disposal, Steve. Whatever you think I can wax poetic on to help the listeners enjoy and educate them, I'm all for it.
Well, I want to pull back the curtain a little bit first on something that was personal with you. And that was the whole Kanye West.
Yes.
So for those not familiar, I don't, you never want to assume, right? But this is going back, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years. Is that about right?
About 3 now. Yes.
Okay. I saw this headline in Newsweek, and I'm going to read it verbatim, but obviously you know it. Daniel Cherry, ? Kanye West takes aim at Adidas executive. So someone just falling off the turnip truck, knows nothing about this. What happened?
What happened? Well, honestly, it was in many ways a mental health story as much as it was a marketing story. It was a personal safety story in many ways for me and my family. When you think about what went on during that time, it was pretty intense. So what ended up happening, and I'll summarize here because it gets too detailed. And there has been a lot of, as you can imagine, legal implications attached to this as well. But everything that you've seen on social media and then some. But he took aim at me and our executive board and supervisory board for perceived lack of control, even though he signed an agreement well before I got there in the partnership. And when people are going through their sicknesses and their issues, they lash out at people that either they support or that they care about or that are in their inner circle. I happen to be in the inner circle, and I took aim. And one of the things I told my team is that, whenever we do things, I'm going to take, as I said to them, all the hits. So I'll be the Kevlar in the sunlight, right? I'll shine a light on you when things are going great. And if things are not going great, I'll take I'll be the Kevlar stand in front of it. That's the job of a leader. And that's what I did for all the people behind the scenes that were working incredibly hard, but have been, disrespected, potentially, kind of in their minds abused or, emotionally scarred over all this relationship ebbs and flows that have happened even before I got there. My job was to put an end to it because there's certain things I wasn't going to tolerate, certain things that our team shouldn't tolerate, and that our consumers shouldn't have to deal with. And I think the company made the right decision. Everything you saw that happened publicly, we couldn't stand on the wrong side of this conversation. It just took a big toll on me personally, my family. We had to have security for quite some time. Those who know me saw me travel with security everywhere for about 6 or 7 months. I didn't drive my own car for 6 or 7 months. I had a driver and a security officer. My daughters had to go to school with security officers who had to stay off campus because these people were concealed carry security and they couldn't enter a school zone, as you can imagine. My wife had to get driven to her university job. We ended up moving to a new home because we got doxxed and people kind of were, engaging. And it is, if anyone wants to hear a deeper story, probably help me write the story. It's a great cautionary tale for how you engage in influencer marketing and deal with celebrity. Because when the control is lost, you can't find the steering wheel. You got to have the eject button, and you can't have in any business or brand the tail wag the dog, meaning the cultural kind of conversation drive the brand conversation. One has to create the ripple for the other, and the brand has to own that story and create the ripple for the consumer and the culture. And we got that, I think, a little upside down. And many people inside the organization, as well as myself, had to bear the brunt of it. But we course corrected. New CEO. We ended up, creating a foundation out of this as well. So the first foundation that the brand's ever had, AdidasFoundation.org. Everyone can go there. It's a grant-based program for people, planet and play. Something that the brand's never done before. And the proceeds, that we are using to provide grants come out of the revenue generated from a lot of these shoes that were sold. So making something good out of, right, a tough situation.
Yeah.
But we turn the page, and I think everyone's better for it. And hopefully those who didn't go through it can learn from it, because many people are dealing with celebrity at various levels in their brand. So if you have issues and you're engaging in it, and you're a marketer, please hit me on LinkedIn, reach out. I can give you some advice, because I definitely have written literally bullet points, almost a book on approach this from my experience.
Yeah, and anybody can just Google your name and Kanye West, and a whole bunch of stories come up. But there's always a story behind the story.
For sure.
It's, you use cautionary tale. That's so appropriate, right? And not to go down this rabbit hole, but I will for just a little, because knowing as many CMOs and C-levels as I know, and I've been blessed to engage a lot of celebrities myself, I think there's this perception, glamour, right? And, oh, you got to meet XYZ, and you got to meet this star, and everything. You just go to parties, and everything's great. This is kind of the darker side.
Yeah, for sure. It starts inside out.
Yeah.
If you don't know who you are, what you stand for, then you will attract opportunists, and you will make opportunistic partnerships. And those things are transactional. They're not at the level of depth that you need. I mean, I love having worked with a bunch of Japanese and, brands and even upstarts in my day. And one of the things they told me about the Western system, right, our American system, is that, hey, you guys litigate a lot. You sue each other a lot.
Yeah.
That's because you don't know who you're doing business with. And as you know, historically, doing business in, Korea or Japan takes a long time. There needs to be a level of trust there, so that the litigation is not something that, is the first thing you do. The first thing you do is a conversation.
Yeah.
But you have to have mutual, values and morals. And I don't believe that a lot of these entertainment-based partnerships are based on something deeper than the popularity and some level of affinity, whether it be organic or transactional affinity.
Yeah.
Right? You pay me, I'll wear it. I like it. And I think you need to build a deeper level of trust and respect. And I jokingly said, internally, like, hey, show me a picture of them wearing the product when they were a kid, right? Did you do this before you were famous?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a story there? Because we want to be able to your point, tell that story. But we also want to make sure that it's authentic and you respect us for who we are at our core, not what we can offer you in the moment.
Big difference.
Big difference. Big difference. Just because you can does not mean you should. That's my advice to all marketers. Just because you can does not mean you should.
If you and I could climb the highest mountain and just scream that, oh my gosh, that is a life lesson, right? Anyway, I won't go down that rabbit hole. Okay, we're talking off air, and you shared this 2-word phrase. I've never heard it put it this way. And you called it cultural currency, and it was marketing.
Mm-hmm.
That's cultural currency. First of all, this is the phrase cultural currency. I love. I want to just expand on that, but then you're infusing our world of marketing.
Yes.
As cultural currency.
For sure.
Go with that.
As a Whartonite, I, studied, economics, I studied finance, all the things you do as a student in Wharton. And what you love coming out of that is you love that you have an appreciation for compound interest. What you pay in, you receive, tenfold, ideally, right, in years to come. Now, in our hyper frenetic PE-backed world of acquisitions, the marketing department almost feels like it has to be microwaved. And therefore, you don't get the compound interest you get over time. If the average tenure of a CMO is 3 to 4 years, that's not the kind of compound interest that you want. You want 5 and 10 year, terms on compound interest. And I believe marketing works the same way. You have to pay in. Sometimes you're course correcting as well. So you're actually taking on debt, cultural debt that you got to pay into. Before you actually see the dividends and the rewards. And so what we're doing is we're actually just like the stock market. We're putting an investment in a mutual fund. That marketing budget, I believe, is an investment in the brand's top line. Hopefully the company can help manage the bottom line, but marketing has to drive the top line. And so for me, the cultural currency is very much the compound interest of consumer desire beyond reason that you receive based on the investment you put in over time. And you see that in 5, 10-year cycles, generational cycles for some brands. And that to me is really important. And that is how you weather the storm. When the consumer and the train crashes and the market crashes, if you've paid enough into that compound interest can help you weather the storm. Otherwise, you microwave your brand and you implode. And we've seen a lot of brands implode over time without having, that true cultural currency built from the street up. Yeah. Top down. And again, microwave currency means you get a celebrity, you get a macro influence, pay them, and you hope that it rains, engagement. But you got to build roots. And so does your brand have cultural roots or not? Fab Five Freddy and a bunch of lifestyle connoisseurs in New York, which is kind of my pedigree and background, right, in the streetwear space. They have a phrase that many people at Adi know me for saying, and we actually had it on a cake that the team gave me once. And it's everything cool starts from somewhere, by someone, and some friends. That's what I mean by the cultural roots. Everything cool starts from somewhere, by someone, and some friends. That's an origin story. That's the founder spirit.
Yeah.
Every major thing we love that has any cultural currency comes from somewhere. Whether it be cognac, that's a region. Champagne, that's a region. American whiskey, that's a region. Japanese denim, that's a region. Silicon Valley, that's a region. That's a place, a space, and you have, right, a world around it. Skate culture, hip hop, the Bronx. Everything comes from somewhere and it has a bunch of codes connected to that. And if you understand those codes, then you can actually begin to pull on them and play some good music culturally. And for those who don't get it, right, you're dead in the water.
You are.
Feel your way into it.
Also, the ones who, not only the ones who don't get it, but also don't have the support of your CEO and your C-suite.
Yes, very much so. They have to believe in it. To your point, I mean, imagine investing if you are a financial analyst in the market and your boss doesn't believe in compound interest.
Yeah.
How are you going to get the returns? You're going to start creating a very tricky slope if you were doing that in the financial world. And they have a word for that. That's called a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
You can't get returns beyond, right, the work you put in. In marketing, same way. I mean, there's a lot of Ponzi schemes in marketing. There's a lot of kind of microwave ideas that expect high return, but they will not sustain you long term.
I love that term, microwave marketing. That's just, I think you're going to inspire me to write something. And if I do, I'm going to give you total props because
appreciate it.
It's a great, because everybody gets what that means, right? Mm-hmm. You know, you microwave something, you want it. What's the reason anybody microwaves anything? Speed.
Right.
And taste is almost secondary.
Exactly. What nutritional value are you going to get out of it? You literally buy a microwave and take it all out. Exactly. So you get that short-term benefit, if you will, but in the long run, they keep the analogy going. In an hour, your stomach feels like Exactly.
Right.
And so what is it worth? But again, based on the tenure that you have, do you want a few microwave hits? Because that can help you, right, get your next job. Because again, the term of a CMO, as you know, is basically an NFL running back or less. Right?
Good analogy there too. Exactly. That's a whole nother story. Don't get me started on why that's. I'm in a good mood, Daniel. Don't get me. All right, I want to jump this up. You mentioned PE and private equity.
Yes.
I know you have some thoughts on how advertising and PE play together.
I do. You know, PE is a lot of, obviously, categories in PE, from tech to consumer products. I'll focus on the consumer products industry, right, for the most part, because that's what a lot of CMOs that listen to your podcast and many of us that come from the advertising/marketing world work on. And PE can be a great benefit to both advertisers and marketers. I jokingly said that, you know, PE firms come into an organization, see the value, suck the value, reestablish the value, then hire a CMO or executive team. And then somewhere down the line, that person hires an agency they worked with in the past or has a pitch. The reality is that the creative folk that have helped build brands for other companies for so long can be a great benefit to PE earlier in the process. I would be encouraged to see more PE firms bring marketers and advertisers in when they're assessing the value of a company, because marketers and advertisers can see beyond the endemic category they're in or beyond the traditional consultant's perspective. Because the traditional consultant has demographics, MPD data, Euromonitor data, and all they say is cost structure's too high, margins too low, you can expand. And that's pretty much the play.
Yep.
Strip it, right? Rebuild it, expand it, and or flip it. It's kind of the model. But when you have creatives like ourselves, you will be able to see whole other categories of growth that are outside the categories that a traditional Bain or McKinsey would be able to see, because they don't build brands. They audit them.
Yeah.
Right? They audit companies. They do not build brands. We build brands. And brands, I mean, if you were to look at, let's say, a PE firm came in and wanted to buy Amazon, would Amazon be what it is today? It'd be Barnes and Nobles. That's not the category that they're in. But I think that if you look at the values and the benefits of any brand, marketers and advertisers see that, and they see how they build that connection to consumer, and they candidly see white space in a world that PE doesn't. And I think that PE will then change their valuation of those companies potentially by seeing the opportunity beyond the endemic category they're in. And I think that be a great partnership of left brain, right brain, marketers, advertisers with a Bain and McKinsey or a Deloitte walking into these companies and helping audit and assess them with PE. Now, PE is buying a lot of advertising agencies these days, so hopefully that becomes the use for these agencies if they have the right skill set.
Yeah.
Because if they have the right skill set, then they can see the true consumer, they can see the opportunity, and they can actually help build that opportunity, because none of these consultant companies can actually build brand demand. They can only audit based on the demand that's already been built. But we can actually create new demand for them if we are brought into the conversation early enough and given the right level of, I think, respect for the way we see value than the way maybe the street sees value.
Which is completely different, right? And
completely different.
Right.
That's why brands are sold on multiple. It's because of the things we see, not because of revenue.
Exactly right. And you kind of hit on a bit of a nerve of mine, and I'm not knocking them, but like the Bains and the McKinseys of the world, they don't build brands. And somehow along the way, the perception was that they either do or know how to do it, and they don't. And again, I'm not knocking them because what they do, we don't.
Correct.
Right? We stay in our lane.
Right. But the brands, I mean, Poppy, look, Poppy just got, right? So what, 1.5 billion, I think somewhere around there. But who's behind that? And I'll give a shout out to Rohan Oza. Rohan was a brand manager at Sprite. He's gone on to do amazing things in the venture world. And I think his company is Cavu, Caveu, right?
Yep.
Ventures. But he brought us as a young marketer and kind of, streetwear kid in on ground floor of Glasso Vitamin Water way back in the day when he left Coke as a Sprite brand manager to help launch Vitamin Water. And now you think someone that was already at Coke, they might listen to.
Yeah.
Why can't Coke build Vitamin Water internally? Why can't these brands build these companies internally? Well, there's a whole reason behind that. And those same companies use, to your point, a lot of consultants. They couldn't have built a Poppy or a Vitamin Water or Liquid Death. Because that's not what these companies do. They assess the value based on the structure of the business today. We can create value in a new model for the future. That's why, again, what we create creates multiples when the company is sold. What Bain and the others create are hopefully the right top line price point on that multiple. Right?
Yeah. Completely. No, it makes so much sense. I'm such a keep it simple guy anyway, and everything in life. Yeah. And that's just, anyway, that we'll save that for part 2 because that is it's right there.
Yes.
But let me table it for now because there's
we'll continue the conversation.
We'll continue. I love this. You describe AI. I love this. You're a writer, man. I know you are because you're using great words. Creative accelerant.
Yes. AI is an amazing creative accelerant.
And not a replacement for creative.
No.
And I think I cannot wait for you to just espouse, and I want to give you the platform because so many people that I talk to, either who are writers and creative, think they're going to lose their jobs, or who are in the C-suite go, I can get rid of all my staff. No, they're both wrong.
Yes, they are. It can be an accelerant. So that's not to say that they're not inefficiencies in the current model, because in advertising and a lot of marketing organizations, there's a lot of people who make stuff up, but don't actually make stuff. Now, remember that. Make stuff up, don't make stuff.
Yep.
Make stuff is what a consumer sees, feels, touches, purchases, right, emotionally or right, monetarily transacts with. Like that's the stuff that you make. Things that you make up. Again, in advertising, I read a brief. That's great. Consumers don't see that. We do pitches. Great. Consumers don't see that unless we do A/B testing on the idea, and then we hire a bunch of people to make it. Right. Very few agencies have ever had a producer, director, maker on staff, unless you may be a digital agency. So the reality is most of the industry is about making stuff up, and I believe that AI can help us make stuff up better, faster. Although it looks finished, because that's the misnomer is that it looks finished. It's actually an input, not an output. So a lot of the AI creative, whether it be Midjourney, Runway, you name it. Yes, it can be used as an output in some ways, shapes and forms because it looks so great. But the reality is when you see that it's an input, that's when the other creative, the human touch should be involved to refine it, to properly deploy it, and to help hopefully tell a story about it. Because it can't tell its own story. So even when we do footwear designs, we look at it, it looks amazing, but some product might have 4 stripes, 3.5 stripes. You never know.
Yeah.
The reality is it looks really good, but it's only as good as what you put in it. Again, like the brief. Garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly. That's what I tell people all the time. Look, ChatGPT is clearly the granddaddy, right, of AI. And that's fine. You can argue which tool you use. And I don't mean you, I mean euphemistically, but it's the prompting is everything.
Yes. Again, prompting to me is brief writing.
Yes.
If the model used to be, I have to talk to creatives and I would give them a brief that they actually can create against. That's a prompt. A brief is a prompt. So a lot of strategists, if you're doing strategy and advertising and you want to do it the future, strategy is really prompting AI. Now, if AI is a creative tool, the way that a graphic designer or copywriter is a creative tool, human tool versus artificial tool, but you still need to figure out how to prompt to get the most out of it. That's our job. And so I believe that, yes, prompting is a critical asset that we should all have in the future because it's essentially communication to get the outcome you want.
Without question. I mean, I know there's classes. I've taken some. I want to take more about prompting. And like you said, garbage in, garbage out, and the opposite's true. So I always say, like, we can't even see the tip of the iceberg, let alone the iceberg when it comes to AI.
Agreed.
Which is great.
It is a tool.
Exactly.
It's a tool. Like Adobe Creative Suite is a tool. Right?
I use the toolbox. You got a hammer? Yeah. You got a screwdriver? Yeah. You don't rely on just one thing to build something.
No, you can't. And you can't get afraid because I believe the status quo is a bad habit.
Yeah.
Right. Many of us in our industry, because we're so self-congratulatory, we sometimes become traditionalists. We hold on to a way that we understand, but we don't really vet if that was the best way.
Yes, exactly.
And if it's the most efficient way.
Exactly.
It's a creative accelerant, which drives margins down on baseline creative. So you actually hopefully can spend that money on things that matter even more, that create greater impact. That to me is a bigger conversation, right? We can spend a lot of money on a lot of low touch product. I say creative product comes out in the world, but that takes money away from the high impact, expensive product. All the product can be expensive and have different levels of impact. If you're going to spend the money, make sure it has a greater impact, greater scale. And I believe that AI can help us create greater scale faster, the accelerant piece, and hopefully more efficiently. As an example, we used to create massive kind of steel molds for footwear. And then that has to get, shipped across the water. We have to kind of review it, approve it, cost thousands of dollars, takes months. So we can go from thousands of dollars and many times tens of thousands of dollars in months to get a proper sample on a product that can be wearable, meaning you can kind of wrap around your foot and be a footwear that you can see dimensions against, to hours and hundreds. So from thousands or tens of thousands in months to hundreds of dollars in weeks, sometimes days. Now, that's not the shoe that you see at the shelf. Yeah. That is the idea. That's the input that gets to the product that you get to the shelf. And hopefully we can get to the shelf better, more creatively with more product that you love, and hopefully more cost effectively. Exactly. That's what the AI can create.
Exactly. All right. I'm going to be mindful of time. Part two is a given. There's no doubt we're going to do a part two.
All right, no problem. We got it.
I end every episode with what I call the random five.
Random five. Okay.
I'm going to ask you 5 random questions, personal, right? Just to kind of people get to know you a little better.
For sure.
Kind of thing. I have this full database of over 500. I pull 5, random for every guest. Here's your 5.
All right.
What's a hobby or interest you've had since childhood that still brings you joy?
My love of Transformers. And I'm sitting looking at a Lego that my daughter just created based on the Pharrell set that he had from his movie. I love the, like I say, make stuff versus make stuff up. I love the making of things. I love the ability of the engineering feat that is in Transformers.
Okay.
Amazing. So those are my 2 kind of secret passions.
I love it. Next, is there a book, movie, or song that has had a lasting impact on you?
Oh, easily. I'll give you 2.
Okay.
The Power of One by Bryce Courtney, about a young boxer. I grew up boxing. My grandfather was a boxing trainer. So that is one. So read that. PK is the young boxer's name. And Chinua Achebe, Things Fall Apart, would be 2 that I think are great reads for me that I go back to quite often.
Okay. So noted. Next, if you had to teach a class on something unrelated to your job, what would it be?
History. I think that history or anthropology are 2 of the great fields of study that I think people who are in the business of human engagement and interaction need to study.
Okay. Do you believe in fate, luck, or making your own destiny?
So cop-out is all 3.
Okay.
But I'm a believer in owning your outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't mean that it works out in your favor, but I think the work ethic component, so maybe your third option, is what I believe in most, which is that you have to put the work ethic in for any of those things to happen, right? So the first 2 have to happen once you put the third one in. They don't happen the other way around.
It's kind of similar. I just thought of this, what you put in, what you get out.
Yes. You can't expect to receive more than you put in. That's not how it works.
Exactly. Final question. What's your biggest pet peeve?
Laziness and liars. I tell my team I can deal with a lot of things, but lazy people and liars I cannot deal with. Even my daughters in the house, they have a phrase that they hear me say and they roll their eyes, but they get it, which is OEA, outwork everyone always. You can be great at the things that don't take talent, and work ethic is it can be perceived as a talent among lazy people, but the reality is it doesn't take training, doesn't take money. It just takes a want to. We say, how do you climb Mount Everest? And my daughters will say to you, you decide to, mental, and then you tie your shoes, and everything else after that is logistics.
I know you're a big sports guy like I am, and I've coached kids at sports and my own kids as well. And one thing there's no excuse for not effort.
Correct.
Talent is talent. Right.
Yes.
And I can teach you and you can teach someone to do something up to a certain point, and then God takes over, kind of thing. Right. Mm-hmm. But effort, I can't have that, for lack thereof.
Agreed. Don't tolerate it. I don't understand it. That's why I said lazy people and liars. I don't get it.
Yeah.
You gotta put the work in. Otherwise, why are you here?
Exactly. And that's a choice.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. It's a decision you make. Once you make it, you commit, and then things flow from there. But you have to decide to first.
My friend, what a treat. Oh my gosh. This is amazing. The floodgates are open now, right? And you and I are going to be connected forever.
Indeed.
This was such a pleasure to have you on my show. One last time, tell people where they can get Frost.
I appreciate it. Drink Frost as a URL, and at Drink Frost on Instagram. You can buy it on Amazon and around 500 or so doors in Southern California today, and hopefully more by this summer. And I appreciate the time, Steve. Thanks.
Absolutely. Daniel Cherry, my friend. Be well.
You too. Take care. Refresh the peace, everyone. Have a good one.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the CMO Whisperer Show. I hope you shared this episode with your friends. And if you have not already, please subscribe to be kept up to date on all the latest episodes. And if you're so inclined, leave me a review on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you.